And the people you fired, those 12 people, they were experts on Iran, were they not?
I don't believe so.
They worked in counterintelligence, did they not?
I'm taking you at your word, sir. I'm not familiar with every
You're the
single
chief
word.
director. I'm not. You should know the answer. You fired the people. Where did they work?
People were terminated for violating their ethical obligations and the high standards.
Was the ethical violations that they dealt with the case of the classified documents that were found at the bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, was that the ethical issue?
As I said earlier, all those matters are pending litigation, so I'm not going to comment on them.
At 35 seconds, they called it a violation of ethical obligations. But come on, that wasn't testimony. That was a political enforcer trying to vanish in plain sight. After every hearing, every dodge, every drawn-out filibuster, after agents were even dismissed on Halloween with their kids watching from the doorway, everything finally caught up. Now, 2 FBI agents have filed a federal lawsuit directly naming Kash Patel and Pam. And this isn't Congress, where time limits and friendly chairs offer cover. This is federal court, under oath, with discovery, depositions, and real consequences. The lawsuit makes one explosive point that no one in that administration wants spoken in a courtroom. Loyalty to Donald Trump is not a legal requirement for working at the FBI, and firing agents for investigating him is unlawful. Now, here's where it gets even more revealing, because when Kash Patel was questioned in Congress about these very firings, his response said more than he likely intended. Watch closely.
So my specific question is that there was a report that came out in February from CNN that the FBI had let go or fired dozens of agents and staff members from a counterintelligence unit tasked with monitoring Iran. And apparently the reason, at least reported in the press, was that these individuals had been involved in the investigation of classified document handling from President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and that this was the reason why they were summarily let go. First of all, are you aware of those firings, and do you concur with the rationale or reason for those firings?
I'm aware of that, and I know there's a pendency of litigation, so I'm not able to comment on them.
Did you yourself order those firings?
The FBI, every time there is someone who violates their code of conduct or ethical standard, conducts an internal investigation with the careers there, and they present a decision point to me. The Iranian Threat Mission Center has seen an increase of 43% in arrests for Iranian spy actors. So the Iranian Threat Mission Center has never been stronger.
So I'm asking about whether those people were fired because they were involved in the investigation of the document handling by President Trump, not for any behavior issues. Is that your understanding as well?
Again, ma'am, I can't comment on them because those are in pending litigation.
I guess I'm a little stymied here, Director, because it feels as though literally when there was a possible pending war, I'm outside of this intelligence circle in many ways, even though I serve on the Intelligence Committee. You collectively must have been aware when these firings happened that there was a meaningful chance that the U.S. might be engaged with a war in Iran. And having these very expert, super qualified folks summarily dismissed at this time, it just feels like an odd choice in timing. Were you aware at the time that this was going down, that this may end up weakening the mission and the readiness of that group?
The mission, as I stated, has never been stronger when you see a 43% increase in counterintelligence arrests and 21% increase in cyber arrests against the Iranian Threat Mission Center. My focus is on providing the American people the strongest FBI as possible. I don't work on timelines. I work on evidence that's presented to me.
I guess my concern is that it feels as though, and I very much honor the tone and tenor of this hearing, that this is about making sure that that we depoliticize what is the most important thing that we all do, which is keep us safe. And it feels as though this issue is a political issue, and I just am worried that we are taking really good, really qualified people and picking fights with one another across party lines, rather than making sure that we protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe.
While highlighting a reported 43% rise in arrests, Patel simultaneously moved to dismantle the CI-12 unit, the specialized team tasked with tracking high-level Iranian sleeper cells inside the United States. The contrast is stark. public emphasis on arrest numbers, largely tied to lower-level cases, while the more complex counterintelligence capabilities were being reduced. Critics argue this shift prioritized visible metrics over long-term national security expertise. According to the claims, Patel has maintained that decisions were evidence-based. However, opponents point to internal records and the broader context to argue that the changes may have undermined critical investigative continuity. They also challenge the narrative of a stronger FBI, suggesting instead that such restructuring could weaken institutional knowledge and operational readiness. What makes the situation more concerning, they argue, is that specialized units like CI-12 cannot simply be replaced overnight. These teams often rely on years of experience, deep intelligence networks, and highly sensitive clearances. Removing them without a structured transition could disrupt ongoing investigations and limit the agency's ability to respond to complex threats. Some reports further claim that the impact was felt quickly, with concerns raised about reduced monitoring of certain foreign-linked networks and gaps in response capacity. While these assertions remain part of an ongoing and contested narrative, they underscore a broader debate, whether the changes represent strategic reform or a move that could carry significant national security risks. The dismantling of CI-12, critics argue, has opened a significant gap in domestic intelligence, one that could take 5 to 10 years to rebuild. In a period many describe as the most unstable since the Cold War, that kind of delay raises serious concerns. The comparison being drawn is stark, removing highly experienced personnel at a time when threats are already evolving rather than reinforcing the systems designed to counter them. Supporters of the administration emphasize stability and confidence, but opponents counter that loyalty alone cannot replace decades of expertise. Skills built over years, tracking complex networks, analyzing emerging threats, and managing covert operations, are not easily replicated. The concern is that prioritizing alignments over experience could weaken operational effectiveness in critical moments. Beyond the immediate impact, critics warn of a broader institutional shift. They argue that the issue is no longer just about what was lost, but what may be taking its place. Internal concerns reportedly point to changes in hiring and evaluation priorities, raising questions about whether professional qualifications are being outweighed by political considerations. There are also indications of a wider ripple effect, with experienced officials choosing early retirement amid uncertainty about internal processes and leadership direction. If true, this kind of departure could accelerate a loss of institutional knowledge, making recovery even more difficult. Meanwhile, ongoing legal proceedings, including efforts to limit disclosure of certain internal decisions, continue to add another layer of scrutiny to an already contentious situation.